Hi everyone, welcome to our first altHR webinar walkthrough. So my name is Iza, I am from digital marketing, and so my colleague Justin and I will be going through a few of our modules with you so that you can get to know altHR and have the skills to use it. All right, so a little bit about altHR. So we have a few different platforms that you can use altHR on. So the first being the mobile app. And we also have the admin panel, which we will dive into today. And we also have the web app. So some of the modules that we have are listed over here. We won't be going through all of them, but we will be going through most of them. So I hope that you guys are able to follow. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the live YouTube chat, and we will get back to your questions later. We hope you enjoy this live webinar. Over to you, Justin.
All right, thank you, Iza. Good morning, everybody. So for my part, I'll be showing you how to log into the admin panel and also to talk about companies and lists. So on my screen, as you can see, this is where what you will see when you go to admin.althr.my, log in with your details that you will receive through the email when you sign up. All right. So once you log in, what you'll see is this. So for our test, we'll be using Walt Disney Pictures as our tester and our demo for you guys. All right. So once you log in, you'll be able to see profile section. And under profile, these details should have been filled up already. And you can edit it here. You can put in your pictures, your registration number, and change any details that you want. So for address information, here you want to put your HQ address, your main office address. If you have more locations or branches, I will explain later on where you can insert it into. So moving on, we have a structure under company as well. So this is how many levels that your company has. So for a typical SME, you would have departments and then sections and subsections. So this will affect later on under the people modules and organizations, which I will explain later on. Okay, there is already a default structure set for you, and you are able to change it based on how your company is set up. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which will be job bands. So job bands would be more for leaves and expenses. So if it's already set up here for you, but this is just an example. It's not necessary to put in the salary amount for each job grade. Okay, this is just mainly just for tracking. Unless you have a lot of employees and a lot of different job grades and salary ranges, then yes, you can insert it, but it's totally up to you. The salary range will not affect anything else. Okay, so under offices, all right. So this is where you want to include your other offices within your company. So you have HQ, then maybe you have another branch in Kelantan, you have another branch in Selangor. So this will affect working days, leaves, especially, which my colleague Iza will talk about later on, because in different states in Malaysia, you have different working days, different rest days, and different off days. So our calendars are already set for the holidays for different states. So this will help later on under leaves. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which will be modules under company as well. So under modules, this is where your employees will be able to see on their app what modules they will be able to see on their app. So you have leave, expenses, document manager. You can turn it on or off or anything, but it's up to you what you want to show to your employees. Next, we have role management. So under role management, you have where you want to allow permissions for admins to access different policies. So for example, you have case management, you have travel desk, and then you have settings. So let's dive into case management, the case management module. And this is where you want to choose who has the access or who can manage case management within your company. I would suggest that you have around 1 or 2 people to manage case management. So this would mainly be the admin person or the HR person to manage this, because case management is mainly used for employees to bring up issues with HR, within HR perspective. So under here, you can see case management stick. So case settings and case requests. Walt Disney and Buzz Lightyear can access this and can manage it. Okay. So we have 2 different types of admins, module admins and sub-module admins. So sub-module admins is within a module, they can access certain things. All right, so for example, let's see here. So this is mainly for settings only. So these admins can only access settings within modules. So leave settings, company profile, expense settings, only all these type of small things. So it's up to you how you want to set up these policies and who can access it. But try not to involve too many people. All right. So here we have the admin list as well. Here you can see who has access to which, and you can add more admins here. All right. Next up we have reports. So under reports, just don't mind the sudden change in UI UX because we're in the midst of revamping, and within the report section, here you can see all the downloadable reports. So reports generated only last for 3 days, and then you have to generate again. So for leave expenses, travels are mainly, which Isa will cover later on. Okay, let's head back. Okay, so for the next one, you want to see, we move on to the people module. All right. So under people module, this is where you are able to access all your employee info. You can see who is active, who is resigned, who's under probation. So here, most of the time, you will be able to see all your employees here already because you fill up a sheet once you sign up. So you can, if, for example, an employee is now under probation, you want to confirm them, it's already done, their probation, you can just press confirm here as long as you are the admin. Okay. And then if they are active and they just send unfortunately, they just send their resignation letter, they want to resign. So you have to go into their profile, you have to go to employment info, and then click actions. Okay, and then you press terminate. All right, so select reason, resignation, termination, or contract expired. So for this example, we'll use resignation, and then set the date that they hand in their resignation letter, and then their last date at the company after serving their notice. All right, and then you can upload the resignation letter or any other details or documents here. Okay, so once you already put them as resigning, right, they will still be considered active employees until their last day is over. So you can see here, for example, Captain Hook resigned 3 more months until last day. All right, because until last day, once after last day, they won't be under active employees. You will find them under resigned employees, which is all here, and then you have a record here. Okay. For example, if you want to hire a new employee, right, you want to press add new. You want to press use existing position that has not been filled up. Okay. Then you choose the organization. This one later on, I will talk about it. All right. Let's put division. Oh, sorry, department. Okay, HR department. Just choose one technician. All right, you want to put in their names, everything, all their ID, show advanced setting. Okay, then you want to set a date to send them an invitation to join on altHR. So you can send now, or you can set a date like maybe 1 to 2 weeks before their first day joining a company. All right. So this is how you onboard new employees. Okay. All right. Let's go to organizations. So under organizations, this is where you want to create your different departments, your different sections, or even subsections under a section. So of course, you have your overall organization here. Then we try to take it in an SME perspective, where you have the managing director, okay? Managing director. Then you have like finance department, HR, marketing, operations. So under finance department, then you have accounts, Then under HR department, maybe you have compensation and benefits, where they do all the claims and stuff. Then you have recruitment and staffing. So then you have different subsections under that. This is entirely up to you how your company is structured. Okay. So you can decide who you want to put in, how many roles you want to create inside, and then that's where you just now when you onboard your employees, you choose under which section they are going to be part of. All right. So next up, we have import and export. So import and export employees. Under import, right, we have made it quite simple for you to import employees. All you just need to do is just download our altHR template, fill up accordingly to the template, and then you can just choose the file, upload it here, and then press start import, and it should appear under employees already. If there is any problems, you can always ask questions to us through support@althr.by. All right. So under export employees also. So export employees is mainly just to track some details or find out some details about certain employees. So you can type Captain Cook. Okay. You want to find out about their personal details or their vehicle details. You can choose what details you want, and then you can generate the employee list. All right. Okay, so let's move on to settings. Okay, so under settings, this will be more complicated. All right, this is where you want to employee profile settings. This is where on their app or on their web app they can decide certain details they can change on their own. So you can turn it on or off. Okay, so like vehicle info, personal info, yes, they can change it on their own. And then you can put, does it require approval from the admins? So it's up to you whether you want to turn on approval. So for example, like when they change their bank details, then you want approval as well, so that you can know whether it's correct or not as well. And then when they change their settings as well, you can turn on notification settings, and this will notify admins whenever they change certain details. You can turn it on, turn it off, up to you. Okay, next we have approval routing. So approval routing is where like your request, how it will be approved. So from employee to direct manager, or from employee to the direct manager, and then it has to require manager or manager. So it depends. You can set certain limits. So maybe it goes over 500, then it requires another level of approval, which Iza will explain later on. All right. So this is where you can set. So for example, I set employee has to go through the electrician, and then has to go through the line manager, which is the direct manager, and then has to go through the head of department as one of the approval routings. Okay, this is where you set it all up here. Okay, next we have profile request. So under profile request, this is where just now when you put in require approval, if it requires approval, then you come up here and you can approve or deny the change in their profile. Okay. Next we have personal assistance. Okay, so this is quite a useful tool that we have in altHR, because it helps. It allows an employee to approve on behalf of another staff. So most of the times, like our bosses are quite busy, they don't have time to approve our leaves, maybe don't even have time to approve our claims and whatnot, right? So this will allow maybe the HR admin or maybe a certain employee to approve on their behalf. So for example, let's put like Buzz Lightyear here. He can approve on behalf of Walt Disney, Bell, and all these heads lah. Okay. So next we have the pre-employment form. So this is where the form that will be sent to your employees before they join the company. Okay, so here you can include like their identification info, their contact, their email, and you can include much more stuff inside here. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So that would be all from my part. I'll be passing it on to my colleague Isa to talk more about the rest. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So I'll be talking about the rest of the modules. So I'll be sharing my screen now. All right. So moving on to leaves. Okay, so this is where you set default approval routing. So the routes will be applied to all leave policies unless otherwise specified. So the routings were created in people module as Justin showed just now. So you can also download reports of the leaves as well. And work days, depending on how many offices that you have, if you have in different states in Malaysia, you can set different work days depending on the offices. And this is where you can edit and change them accordingly. Holidays in Malaysia have been pre-uploaded for all altHR users. So you can always edit them as well over here and set for the year 2021. And you can also do an import of leave requests if you are already recording it somewhere in an Excel sheet, or you just have somewhere that you would like to import everything that is already existing in your company. This is where you can do it. You just have to download the template and upload the attachment. Okay, so now we move on to policies. So in policies, all of the leaves are already categorized. So we already have annual, emergency, generic. So generic would be sick leave, MC, or hospital leave, maternity leave. And we also have different leaves like special leave and emergency leave. We also have this feature called replacement credit. So with replacement credit, you can actually assign credits to employees if they have worked on a day that they weren't supposed to work. So let's say if your employee was required to work on a Saturday, you can actually assign them a replacement credit so that they can use that credit to take leave on a future date. I will show you how it's done later. So you can create leave policies here. And when you don't want to use it, you can always turn it on or off, edit them, or you can also archive them if you're not planning to use it anymore. So moving on to requests. So as the altHR admin, as the admin of your company, HR admin, you will be able to see an overview of all the leaves that are being requested. So as the admin also, you are able to apply on behalf. So if an employee has no access to altHR, if they need somebody to apply on the behalf, the admin can do that for them. And you can also download the report. Now we move on to balances. Similar to having an overview of all the requests, HR admins will also have an overview of all the balances tagged to their different categories. So we can see here, Donald Duck has 17.5 annual leaves left and 5 days of festive leave and so on. So you can view this in detail as well. Okay, so replacement credits, this is how it's done. So once you have a list of employees or even just one employee that you want to assign a replacement credit, what you do is you can just type in their name, for example, Buzz Lightyear over here, select the date that they've been working, they had to work. So for example, I would assign Buzz Lightyear, he worked on the 18th of July, for example. So I would just credit the amount of days that I want to give them, the replacement credit. So typically we will choose annual leave, but if you do want to apply it to a different leave policy, you can do that as well. And you can also set an expiry duration of when they can use this replacement credit. So it could be 2 weeks from the work date, 3 months from the work date, or until the selected leave policy current cycle ends. So it's up to you to set this. And once you're done, you can just confirm and it will issue the replacement credit to the employee accordingly. All right. Okay, so reports, as mentioned by Justin previously, we are currently revamping our reports page, but just know that if you would want to download any of the reports when it comes to leaves, you can quickly click on this button and it will generate a report for you. All right, so now we move on to expenses. Okay, so over here in expenses, you will have a few different tabs: general settings, default approval routing, expense GL number, and import expense request. So over here, you can set a deadline of when they can submit their request, but usually if you don't have a deadline, you can just set it as no limit, or you can also just allow expense submission after the deadline if you do prefer to have a deadline. Okay, and default approval routing. So you can set default routings. It's very similar to leaves where you can have very default routings where if an employee applies for leave or claims for expenses, which manager should it go to? Should it just go to the line manager or should it go to the manager of the manager? You can actually customize the setting as well. And you can set it as default. And you can also create a new approval routing. So for example, here we have, if the amount is between 0 to 500 ringgit, it only goes to the line manager. But if it's 500 or more, it would actually have to go to the line manager and manager of manager. So you can edit this and also delete this if you want. So expense GL number. So if this is used usually for reports, usually for accounting or your finance team, if they do use GL numbers, you can add them all here. You can add as many as you'd like, and you can customize it and also edit it as well. And similar to leaves, you can also import expense requests into altHR. You just have to download the template and start the import once you upload the attachment. All right. Moving on to policies. Okay. So under expenses, you can also create expense policies. So with over here, you can see the different categories. For example, mileage is the category where if your employees travel anywhere, this is the category that they would tag to. They would be tagged to. Allowances. So allowance would be anything from daily allowance, overnight allowance. So you can also tag this here. And generic is for most of the other expenses. So anything that has a receipt, you can claim the amount and just tag it to generic. So these are the different categories that you can use. And you can create expense policies and you can also archive the policies and edit them as you like. And you can also turn them on or off whenever needed. Okay. Transactions. Over here, you will also have an overview in the admin dashboard of the transactions that are happening within your company. So if anybody is claiming for any of their expenses, you can see it all over here. So over here, we can see that this employee has claimed is requesting to claim for 400 ringgit and the approver is Walt Disney. So you can also see the status. So if it's approved, it would actually show a green bubble there and say it's approved. And you can also view it in detail. Now, when it moves to process expenses, so to process expenses, if the expenses in the previous tab, transactions, was approved, you can actually manually click on the get approved expenses for it to populate here. And once everything is correct and you are ready to process it, you can actually set them as processed and download them as a report. So what the report is used for is usually you can pass it on to your payroll team where they will start processing the payments for the claims. So that was what the report is used for. Okay, so similar to leaves, you can also download multiple reports depending on the categories that you'd like. You can click on the orange button here as we are currently revamping the reports page. Okay, moving on to checklists. So over here, you can create any sort of checklist for your employees. So a situation where you might want to create a checklist is, for example, if you have a team building activity and the team leaders of the team would have to collect certain things like socks and flags. You can actually make it a lot easier and you can digitalize that process of instead of giving out paperwork for like a physical checklist, you can actually just create them here. So you can create as many checklists as you want, and for any reason, it could be team building, it could be work, it could be a checklist of first things you have to do when you come back to the office. It's highly customizable and it's a great feature that you can use. Moving on to Document Manager. So Document Manager is where you can store any documents that are meant to be seen by employees. So anything that might have been physical, like an employee handbook, you can actually put it in document manager, and you can digitalize all the important documents that you have so that employees can access it right via their mobile phones in altHR. So over here, you can see that there are several categories: statutory documents, employee policy documents, compliance sign-off documents, but you can also create new folders, and you can import the documents, any documents that you would like into that folder. Moving on to highlights. Highlights is a very great feature because it's actually, you can access it right from the home screen of your altHR app. So when you scroll right to the bottom, it's the highlight section at the bottom there where you can share company announcements, you can talk about anything that is company-wide related. So you can add them all here, and you can add text, images into every highlight, and you can only have a maximum of 5 highlights at any given time. So when you want to create a new highlight, you will have to archive one of the highlights here. Okay, so creating a highlight is very simple. You can enter a title, a display name of which you would want your employees to see, a header image, and you can insert your content here. Okay. Now we move on to onboarding. Onboarding is used for new employees. When they join, you can enable this onboarding module within their app so that you can include pages that will be useful to them and information that will be useful to them. So for example, over here, we already have one called Welcome to Disney, and it is turned on. So over here, you can also set the eligibility of who can see this. And to create a page, it's very simple as well. And we have already uploaded a few templates that you can use. So all you have to do is choose a template, and you can actually start inputting all your data there without having to worry about the formatting. So that is the onboarding journey. And you can create as many pages as you want, and you can also archive them and switch them off if they're not relevant anymore. So new hires, a list of all your new hires will be here depending on the date that they join. So if there is a new employee, it will be listed down here, and you can actually collect important data. For example, like their vehicle number, vehicle brand, to prepare like a parking sticker or parking pass, and you can actually just have it all here and download it as a report to be shared with either your security team or for administration purposes. So you can actually collect all of the information right here. Now we move on to quick links. Quick links is a page where employees can access all of the links that you have set up for them. So for example, if your company has a specific insurance platform that you use, insurance website that you go to, you have a learning platform, and you have a company website, you can all list it down here. So you can have as many as 20 quick links into at any given time. And you can just have it here in one place so that it's easily accessible by your employees. So instead of having to bookmark it in your browser or in your phone, employees can actually just come here to access the different platforms that are relevant to your company. Directory is also another feature. So if you have a front desk, or you have a security number for your employees, so it's easy that you can just populate it here so that they can find important contacts easily. All right, so that marks the end of all the modules that we have been through. So now we will give you 1 minute to just input your questions in the live chat, and we will address the Q&A soon.
Okay, guys, let me just show you an example of how the report will look like once you generate it. So, for example, this, what you see here on the screen, yes, a lot of numbers, a lot of data, but this is what will look like when you generate employee leave balances. Okay, so this is where you can see their name, how many leaves they still have left, and everything else. So whenever you generate, it will last for 3 days, and then you can download it And if you need to generate again after 3 days, you can just press generate and download again. It'll expire after 3 days, okay? All right. So let's move on to the first question. All right, I see this question here from Michelle Chin. How many admins can I have in my account, and are there different levels? Example, admin level 1 can see everything, admin level 2 cannot see certain information or perform certain actions. Isa, do you want to take this?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, so how many admins you can have in your account? Very great question. You can have as many as you'd like. The levels can be company admin, who sees all the modules. One level lower is module admin, who will only have access to the whole module, and another level deeper is sub-module admin. So they would only be able to see a certain section of the module, for example, just leaves, and a senior employee will be able to set leave policies, but a more junior employee can only see leave requests for daily operations. So related to that, answering Shrey Yes' question, we cannot segregate data per division. However, based on what we shared, we can have leaves module accessible only by the business function that operates it, usually HR. And for expenses, we can have expenses module only accessible to the finance department. Okay.
Okay, all right. So for the next one, so a question from Joe Fan Pang. Are the leave policies limited to what we already have in our admin dashboard? And can I create my own policy? So for example, like birthdays and leaves. So I think I can answer this, all right? Yes, you can create your own leave based on your own company policies. And let me show you how to create a birthday leave, all right? Okay, let me share my screen here so that you can see an example. Share screen. Okay, all right, can you see my screen now? Okay, so when you want to create your own lease, right, you go to leave, and then under settings, go. Oh, sorry, policies. All right, you can create your own leave policy. Okay, you can choose a generic leave, create the policy, and then you can just put it as birthday leave. Okay, and then you can type in a description, change the eligibility and whatnot. So you can put in how many days, is it a special leave? Okay, all right. So do we have any more questions? Okay, so how does the report? Okay, we have one from David Tan. Okay, how does the report look like? All right, yeah. So just now we showed you the report. So most of the reports will look like that in an Excel file, and it's only available for 3 days so that whenever you generate more, it's always updated with the latest data. Okay. So whenever it's expired, you can always go back to under all the settings, the reports, and then you can continue generating more. Okay. Okay. Do we have another question? Let's wait for more questions to come in. Okay. Right. We think we have a last question from Michelle Chin. How detailed can the modules go? For example, can I have different policies for different departments and divisions? And for example, like I want to give my sales teams more leaves compared to other teams. All right, Izzat, can you answer this one?
Sure. So the policies can be quite detailed. So for example, you can have 4 leave policies for most employees and 6 leave policies for your sales employees. So this is all handled with the eligibility function. So if an employee is not eligible for a leave policy, they won't see it. So for example, male employees, they won't see the maternity leave option. I think it's very customizable. You just have to set up with the eligibilities in the settings. Hope that answers your question, Michelle.
Okay. All right. So this will just wrap up our session for today. This is a very basic beginner walkthrough. All right. We will have more down the road, which are more advanced. So just stay tuned and you can just register. We will send you the links to register for it. And if there are still any more questions, you can always email us at support or hello@althr.my, and we'll be happy to help you guys. So stay tuned for future webinars at www.althr.my/webinars, and we'll keep in touch with you guys. Thank you for joining us for this session today, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.